apparently I cannot shut the fuck up about the show, and that is fine by me, because evidently I am in good company, because there's a lot of us who apparently can't shut the fuck up about the show, particularly about this season. Apparently there is a lot of us, a very vocal majority of us, that have a lot to say about this season and everything that went down within it. So yeah, I am included within that club. And this video, it's exactly what it says on the tin. This is just me being self-indulgent, a little egotistical, and giving a little entertainment to the 4 people who watch my videos of me just rambling about how I would have written this season of Bridgerton. And for the 1.5 of you who may not know, I do have a background in writing and a screenwriting background. My background may not be as heavy and as prominent as the actual writers of the show, because they're writing on a show and I am not, evidently. But I have been within the circles of Hollywood as a creative long enough to learn a thing or 2 or 5. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just entertaining myself and entertaining the 7 of you about my feelings regarding the season of Bridgerton, a show that I actually really love, and this season in particular I was really looking forward to, and I was unfortunately disappointed by it. And what do writers do when they're disappointed by creative content that they consume? They get on AO3 and they write fanfic about it. But I do not have the time for that. So instead I was just like, how do I get my feelings out? What would be quick and easy? I know, YouTube videos. So this is just recorded fanfic. A tangent will occur. Rambling will happen. So notes are just a guide. I don't fully script out anything I say, if that is not evident to you already. So anyway, that is just a warning shot to just let you know that this video is going to be long, quite possibly an hour to a little over an hour long. So if that is not appealing to you, go ahead and bow out now. That is okay. I am not offended if that seems like too much to you. But if not, then you can absolutely sit back, relax, and listen to me go on and on about how I personally would have written season 3 of Bridgerton. Okay, before we get into my whole shoulda, coulda, wouldas, what I would have done regarding every episode of Bridgerton this season, how I would have written it, we have to spend about a good 10 minutes talking about the showrunner, Jess Brownell. Okay, first things first, I did not want to jump on the bandwagon of the showrunner is terrible, she's awful, she doesn't know what she's doing, she fucked it up, she should be fired. I think that level is way too intense. However, regarding Bridgerton this season, the more interviews and quotes I see from the showrunner, the new showrunner this year, Jess Brownell, I keep wanting to call her Brownell, or I don't know, I keep wanting to fuck up her name, and I'm sorry. So I'm just going to keep referring to her as Jess or showrunner. The more quotes and interviews and videos I see of her discussing the season of Bridgerton and talking about it and whatnot, the more I totally get the sentiment, though. I gotta be honest, because she is really putting it out there that she fucked up. I think she fucked up real bad with this season, and it shows in the stuff that she has been saying. I'm not on the whole off with her head, she needs to be fired, but I think she definitely needs to take into account the feedback that she has been receiving from fans regarding the season and how it turned out. And I say that because it's evident to me that decisions that she made and things she wanted or didn't want or paid attention to or was clued into or resonated with her or didn't resonate with her is very apparent, because it's showing up within the show Bridgerton this season. I have a few ideas of why I think this season under Jess Brownell's leadership, the show failed. And I'm going to start with the number one reason and the biggest reason, and that's, I don't think she understood. I think she underestimated Pollen fans and shippers and Penelope stans. I think she had absolutely no idea how big and how beloved Penelope is as a character on that show, and by proxy, Nicola as an actress, as the actress that plays her. I don't think she understood that. I don't think she realized, I think she probably does now, but I don't think she realized that Penelope is quite possibly the most favorited character on the show. She is the flagship character on the show. And I don't think she understood how many people who watch the show love and adore her and love and adore Nicola. By proxy, if not already a shipper, love and adore Pollen as a couple, wanting to see her and her romance, particularly with Colin. And I thought that they would have gained that knowledge, understood that, given that they had moved Pollen's season up, because they're the 4th book in the series. Had they continued on within the series, you know, in the book order, Benedict would have been season 3 and Pollen would have been season 4. But I thought that they understood that by moving their season up, because halfway through season 2, I figured that they were going to have to move Pollen's season up. The unrequited romance between Penelope and Colin, it just couldn't go on for another season. From a writing standpoint, from a fan standpoint, one more season of her pining and him being oblivious would have been too much. It would have reached, I think it would have reached to the point with fans where it's, girl, just get over him. Just get over him and find a new love interest. If they had done one more season of that, I think people would have just been like, girl, get over Colin, who gives a fuck? Introduce a new love interest. Introduce somebody else. You know, we want Pen in love and happy, and she's not doing that. She's not being loved on the way we want her to, because we love her so much and we care about that character, and because she's just so hung up on this boy who is just, you know, no thoughts, head empty when it comes to her. So I thought that they understood that. I thought they understood that we can't drag this out any longer. We have to move Penelope and Colin's season up, and so we'll just push Benedict to season 4. But apparently they did not. They truly did not understand that, and I don't think that they have understood that till now, given all the backlash that they're receiving, all the negative reactions and reviews that they're getting regarding this season. And it's not just fans of the show, like, it's critics too. Critics are really like hammering the fuck out of this season, and I think a lot of it stems just simply from the fact that people really love Penelope. Maybe the staff writers on the show probably have understood that to a degree, but I don't think Jess Brownells understood that. I don't think she understood the level of importance Penelope has within fans of the show. And because of that, we wanted her season to be grander, bigger, and more important than anybody else's. And the truth of the matter, it should have been. Because even though this is an ensemble show, it actually truly is Penelope's show. Because she is Lady Whistledown. And Lady Whistledown is the omnipresent voice of the ton, of the show. She is the point of view we get. Yes, we spend time with characters and within their point of view, out of the so-called eye of Lady Whistledown, but also not really, because Lady Whistledown, like I said, acts as this omnipresent bodiless voice of Mayfair. So the show is really seen through her vision, her point of view, and through her Lady Whistledown voiceover. We get not just the opinions and the insights and the snark and the humor and the wit and the cleverness of Penelope, who is Lady Whistledown, but she also shapes and molds that society as well. So, like, this Lady Whistledown, Penelope, really is the hallmark of the show. She holds the show together. She truly is the lead character of this ensemble show. So it's very important to people who love that character that when it was her turn for love and romance, that it be amazing, that it would live up to their expectations and their hype and what they wanted for her. That's why you're getting so much intense backlash regarding that. And I think the showrunner grossly underestimated the volume and size of Penelope and Pollen stans and shippers, and the spirit, the spirit in which they love that character. There is a vocal minority of people that believe that Jess Brownell, in her mistreatment and misunderstanding of Penelope as a character and of Pollen as a ship, and their importance to the overall Bridgerton fandom. A lot of people believe that it's birthed out of fat phobia. I don't want to make that strong of an accusation because I don't know and I haven't read enough up on her to gauge that. I can see quite possibly where people may be getting that, and maybe they're right. Maybe there's a branch of that, a touch of that within how the show was executed this season, but I personally don't know if I can outright say that. But given how our society treat fat people, bigger people, overweight people, whatever euphemism you want to use, it wouldn't be a far-fetched accusation to make. The second fault that I think the showrunner makes is that she has vocalized, and it's very apparent within the show, that she does not really care for Penelope. Not that she doesn't like Penelope, but it's very apparent that Penelope is not her favorite character, and therefore during her season did not give her that much attention, which is just fucking insane considering she has the absolute most dramatic storyline. Romance has very low stakes, and within this Bridgerton world, yes, the whole Lady Whistledown, Colin finding out that Penn is Lady Whistledown and her romance with him, or the ton as a whole, or anybody finding out that Penn is Lady Whistledown, is high stakes within the show. It may be low stakes within romance in general, but it is very high stakes within the show. Making the mistake of not giving so much care and attention and detail and putting your best foot forward within your writing and your writing team regarding season 3 is a mistake. And it's very apparent to me, and I think the fandom, as there's 2 characters she gives a fuck about, and it's very apparent who they are, and it's Francesca and Benedict. She has given them a ton of screen time that was not deserved this season. This is not their season. It's fine to set things up for future seasons, but she set them up in such a way that they took so much time and energy away from what the main story is, which is Penelope and Colin, and particularly Benedict. Holy fuck. Like I said in a previous video, like there was absolutely no fucking need to have this storyline with Benedict and Lady Tilly and Paul. It was so unnecessary. If you took it out, you would have gained nothing and you would have lost nothing, because it meant nothing, because we all know he's not going to end up with these people. Having him have this bisexual side quest, it was like, for what? For what? Like, it's totally fine if you want to make Benedict bi. Y'all been queer baiting his ass since season 1. It's about time you did something about it. But it didn't need to go down like this. It didn't need to be this, and it didn't need to take up this much time, and it didn't need to be this fucking fruitless, because it's not fucking going anywhere, and we all know that. We all know season 4 is Benedict's season. He's going to end up with Sophie. So why are we spending all this time on this unnecessary subplot? Like, insane to me. And it's also very apparent that she cares an awful lot about Francesca, and I like Francesca. Francesca is a great character. I don't really give a shit that they made her queer. I would prefer it have been Eloise. We all would have preferred it been Eloise. We thought it was going to be Eloise. Eloise is queer coded not just within the show but also in the fucking books. She says she resonated a lot with Francesca's character as a queer woman, which kind of baffled me because I've read the books and Francesca does not come across at all as queer. So it's just really strange that she would resonate so much with Francesca when Eloise is a very apparently queer-coded character, not just in the show but also within the books. And also I believe the showrunner doesn't understand about people's love for Penelope, for Penn as a character, is that a lot of us don't see her the way I think Jess Brownell sees her. I think Jess sees Penelope as someone who needs to atone for her sins, somebody who did a lot of wrong and she has to spend a lot of time fixing that. Hence Penelope taking fucking L's all season, just everybody mad at her, everybody who found out she was Lady Whistledown, everybody being mad at her, everybody being disappointed, her having to apologize over and over to Colin, who's upset with her, to Eloise. It just felt like Penn was taking all these L's. Penn has apologies to make, but in absolutely no way does she need to get on her hands and knees and beg anybody for fucking forgiveness. The only people we believe, as I think as a fandom, that Penn owes apologies to are Colin, Eloise, and Portia, her mother. No one else in the Ton, in the Bridgerton family, in the Feathertons, whoever the fuck. Penn may owe apologies to about 3 people, but nobody fucking else. Sis was mistreated by everyone and had no voice and was ignored. She wasn't just a wallflower. She was grossly mistreated by her own family, by the Ton as a whole, just overlooked, ignored, and disrespected. And I think a lot of fans of the show resonate with that. Resonate with Penn, and they empathize with her and they sympathize with her. And I think the problem is Jess Brownell does not. I think that's why it felt so much like Penn just kept taking L's from everybody and, just made to feel bad. Like the whole part 2 of season 3 just felt like everybody making Penn feel like shit. And I don't think that resonated at all. I don't think that moved anybody at all who's a fan of the show and who likes Penelope, because none of us feel that way. I don't think all of us are Penelope apologists, but I think the majority of us who like Penn don't feel as though she's 1,000% wrong. Like I said, I think the only people that deserve an apology from her or some sort of retribution from her is Colin, Eloise, and Portia, her mother. That's it. And so having her stand in front of the Ton and just, all alone give some sad little speech about how sorry she is that she wrote a gossip column about them when, these people ignored her, mistreated her, and to have her stand there in the middle of that ugly ass fucking ball. I don't care what anybody says, that butterfly ball was hideous, but have her stand there in the middle of that fucking ball and just out herself and apologize to everyone and hope they forgive her, and then they just automatically do, which is just terrible fucking writing. And then to get pointed out by the queen. No. I feel that whole scene just let me know, oh, y'all don't like Penn and you don't understand her. And they go hand in hand. You don't understand her, therefore you don't like her character. And therefore you're making her do things that make her look bad. And again, like I said, it's not that she doesn't owe people apologies. She does, but that's not what any of us wanted, and that's not how any of us see her. To have her just, fold into herself and then try to make it seem like this self-acceptance thing, it just did not work. It did not work at all. And lastly, I just want to touch on that I did not appreciate them sending Nicola out there to tell us that there was no additional sex scenes. Y'all, I don't believe y'all sent my girl out here to try and gaslight us. Absolutely not. No, thank you. Because we have been eating up Nicola and Luke PR promo for this show for months now. Just gobbling it up, swallowing it. And we all remember the interview in which Nicola herself said that there was a sex montage, that the first 2 episodes of part 2, episodes 5 and 6, were solely dedicated to the romance of Penn and Colin. We remember that. And to send her out there to try and placate us and calm us down and be like, no, there's no additional sex scenes, what was shot, and that's what's in the show. Don't do that to my girl. Don't have her getting out here getting flamed by all of us who refuse to be gaslit. We remember, we know. Here's what I think happened. I don't think Luke and Nicola saw the show as an entirety, or at least the back half of the show. I don't think that they had seen all the episodes yet. Therefore, they were, at that time that Nicola said that there was a sex montage and all that kind of stuff, I think at the time they were commenting on what they shot. And they assumed what they shot, or the majority of what they shot, was going to be in the show. And I think once they had gotten footage of that, or maybe seen most of what was going to be put into the season, or at least the back half of the season, they were like, oh shit, yeah, we were telling people there's a sex montage and y'all cut that out. And, you know, we were telling people this and this, and that's apparently not in it. Because I think right after she said there was a sex montage and we all got hyped for it and stuff, right before the part 2 aired, they stopped talking about it like that. Luke and Nicholas stopped mentioning it in interviews and focused on, you know, the mirror scene mainly. So I think what happened was they did shoot that stuff. It just did not end up in the show, and therefore they had to walk it back, which is ridiculous. There's no need to just walk it back. Just tell people that. Just like, we did shoot that stuff. It just unfortunately didn't end up in the show. But I get also why they can't do that, because then it'll just make everybody mad at the showrunner, because like, bitch, why'd you cut that out? You cut that out for a whole bunch of unnecessary shit that we didn't want to see, like everything that happened with Benedict. So yeah, I guess I take that. I'm gonna walk back what I said about them walking it back. Like, I totally understand why they chose to go in that direction, but I also, like everyone else, don't appreciate the gaslighting. Like, no, we all specifically remember Luke and Nicola talking about additional sex scenes and more sex scenes. So to send her out there and go, hey guys, it's okay, calm down, there's no more sex. No, we all remember that. We have been gobbling up all their press. We remember when they said that. And I also remember within their press that they said that they shoot alternative scenes. They'll shoot a scene one way and then they'll shoot it completely different another way. Not from a technical standpoint, from what I understand, but from a writing standpoint. And I think they do that to test the waters of the fandom, to just be like, we'll shoot alternative scenes and we'll gauge from the fandom what they wanted to see. I specifically remember in the interview, I think it's a Town and Country interview, a clip from there, where Nicola and Luke are watching the scene where Colin tells Portia off and was like, she didn't entrap me. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm in love with her. Your daughter's the most eligible amongst all of you. You're all hags or whatever. He didn't say it like that, but my interpretation, I'm paraphrasing. But I do recall in the clip from that, when they were watching that, I do remember Nicola going, oh my God, this is the scene. The fans wanted this so bad. They wanted it so bad. So they're aware. And they shoot scenes based upon what they think or they believe we want. So that's how I also know that there's alternative and additional scenes as well. And it's a TV show. All TV shows and all movies have raw footage somewhere that they have either cut out or choose to omit for whatever fucking reason. I totally believe that those additional sex scenes were shot, and they unfortunately have backed themselves into a corner regarding the lack thereof that was in season 3. Okay, moving on. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the reason why you showed up here today. I'm going to break this down by episode, what I would have written and what I would have wanted to see regarding Pollen Bridgerton season 3. And we're going to start, of course, with episode 1. Episode 1 of my version. Okay, so my version would keep a lot of the exact same elements that originally aired on Netflix of their episode 1 of season 3. So my episode 1 would start with a 5 to 7 minute cold open right before the credits and the title sequence. And it would be a flashback of when Penn and Colin first met. I would age Colin to about 12, 13 and Penn to about 11, 12, around there. And it plays out exactly as he had said. Originally, he was riding his horse. Something yellow and feathery hit him in the face, and it's like a hat or, you know, a head covering, as he said. It knocks him off his horse. He falls into the mud. This cute little redheaded girl comes running up to him, so apologetic and feels really bad, and she's scared that he's going to be angry with her, but he's just sitting in the mud just laughing because it's just so funny and ridiculous. And she's just so relieved that he's not angry and upset with her, and she's super apologetic, and like he said, she's super charming about it, and he's charmed by her being charming, and she can't help but to laugh a little bit when he stands up because he's just covered in mud. And they talk for a little bit, and it's really sweet, and she apologizes again. He's no need. My sister Eloise will have a good laugh about this. My mom, on the other hand, she might not, because I've gotten my Sunday clothes dirty, something like that. And they chat for a little bit, and it's clear that they have an instant connection, and it's really sweet and it's adorable. And Colin introduces himself, and then Penelope introduces herself, and she mentions that she's a Featherington and she just moved to Mayfair, and he asks her where she lived, and he's, oh, I live directly across from you. I live across the street. And then we go a little bit further within the flashback to where Pen is sitting by the window with a book, but she can't help to keep staring out her window across the square at the Bridgerton house because she knows Colin lives there. And that's the beginning of her really falling for him. So a lot of y'all kept making jokes about how during the carriage scene, Pen was like, we're gonna go to the Bridgerton house first, and you're like, don't y'all live across the street? I don't think y'all realize how big Mayfair Square is. I don't think y'all realize how big that square is. It's massive. If you have the time, I encourage you to please go online and look at how big that square is. Like, when she told her driver to go to Bridgerton house first, like, she truly meant that shit. Like, that fool lives a good ways across the street. But I like the idea of her sitting at her window hoping to catch a glimpse of him or whatever, and he just so happens to be in the window. She could see enough to see that he's in the window, and then he looks across the street and can see her just enough, and she's embarrassed at first and wants to hide, but he's like waving like a giant goofball, and then she waves back, and cut to the title sequence and roll credits, because it's just so fucking cute. Okay, then all the next parts play out the same. Pen gets her makeover, she goes to the ball, but instead what I would change about it is that she goes to the ball, all eyes are like focused on her, and it's like, holy shit, she looks really good in that emerald dress. And in my version, what I would like is if Colin approached her and was just like, you look really nice, I like this dress, I like your hair like that, and he's trying to make conversation with her, and she's being really cold and distant, she's giving short answers, she's not really looking at him in the eye, she's looking everywhere but at him, and then he finally questions what's going on, what's wrong, and that's when Pen tells him that I have no interest in being your friend anymore, because my friends would never talk about me the way you did, and he's, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's when she's, I heard what you said, and she repeats it, and he's just super embarrassed and upset, and he's, can we go somewhere and talk alone? And she's, absolutely the fuck not, I actually want nothing more to do with you. And Colin's really upset, and he's, please just give me a chance to explain. She's, no. So she walks off, and she's really happy and confident with herself that she told him off about that. And so she takes a deep breath, and she's, okay, I'm gonna go over to these group of lords over here, and I'm gonna try to do my flirt thing. And she tries, and it's really awkward. It, you know, plays out the same, and it's really funny and also really sad, because you're like, damn girl, you look too good to not know how to flirt. But you know, plays out the same. But she happens to catch the eye of Lord Debling, and they strike up a conversation, and they're making small talk, and Pen's actually not that awkward with him, because he seems to be more patient with her and really trying to get to know her and talk to her a little bit. In the 5 minutes that they've been talking, it seems to be going pretty well for her. Then Cressida comes over, does her fucking mean girl thing, rips her dress. Pen tries to run away, but Lord Devlin chases after her, and he's just, let me help you find a lady's maid to fix your dress. And she's just so embarrassed and, you know, so used to just leaving these awkward situations that upset her, and she's just overwhelmed, and he's just, don't do that, don't leave. When you leave, she fucking wins. When you leave, the fucking bullies win. Let's try and find somebody to help you sew your dress back up. And so Pen's just, you know, so taken by his generosity and kindness. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Pen mentions a lot when people are kind to her, particularly Colin, because she's not used to that level of niceness from people, like genuine niceness where they don't want anything from her or they're mocking her or what have you. God, I love her character, and it just makes me so sad. But anyway, so she decides to take his advice, and they find a lady's maid to help sew her dress, and Colin goes after her because he saw what happened, but like, she's with Lord Debling, there's a connection happening between the two of them, and that his presence would just interrupt that and disrupt it. And you know, a lady's maid's fixing her dress while Lord Devlin's talking to her, making her laugh and giggle. And so he walks away, and Colin's hero complex kicks in, and he's also angry, and he wants to take his anger out on someone else because he's angry that he hurt Penn, which hurt him, and she told him to fuck off, and he's just upset about that. So, and you couple that with his hero complex, and he's just like, where the fuck is Cressida? So he goes, finds her, he cusses her the fuck out in a very gentlemanly way, and then he goes to Eloise and starts bitching her out. What the fuck are you doing with Cressida? I don't know what the hell happened between you and Penn, but this is absolutely fucking insane that you even befriend her bully. You saw what she just did. That's a piece of shit move. And Eloise is just like, I know, I'll talk to her. And Colin's just like, whatever, and walks away. And then Penn's dress is fixed, and then Lord Devlin offers to dance with her, and she's just like, that's okay, because she thinks it's a pity dance. And he says, it's not a pity dance, like, I really want to dance with you. And Penn gets her first dance at a ball ever. That's not with Colin. It's with a gentleman that's like seemingly interested in her. And of course, her mom and her sisters are like floored by it, because they're bitches who just can't fathom that somebody's interested in Penn, and she's not going to grow old into a spinster and do nothing but take care of Portia for the rest of her life. And even though Penn had a fairly decent time at the ball dancing with Lord Devlin, she goes home to write her Lady Whistledown column, and she mentions that Penn was dancing with Lord Devlin in the Lady Whistledown newsletter, but she also does the same as she did in the original airing in my version, which is call Colin out on his bullshit, because she's still very angry with him and all that kind of shit. So the next day, Colin reads that in Lady Whistledown. And he does his thing again where he gets all righteously angry once he reads it and preying on her downfall and all types of shit like that. But he immediately goes to the Featherington home, because it just doesn't sit right with him that his best friend is upset with him and says she never wants to see him again. And he goes to the Feathering home to talk to her, and the whole garden scene that originally was in episode 1 plays out the same, where he apologizes to her. He tells her that he's so sorry, that he loves her, he misses her, she's like the greatest person ever, and it's just torn him up inside that he hasn't heard from her the entire time he traveled away. And then he brings up Lord Devlin, and she goes, it was just a dance, he didn't really mean it, because Penn just can't fathom that somebody's interested in her. Even with him being flirtatious, she just thinks he was doing a really nice act of kindness because he felt bad about what Cressida did. And then Colin mentions that Cressida's a fucking bitch, and he's sorry that happened, and he just wants to make it up to her. How can he? And that's when they start talking about her desire to find a husband, and he's just like, if you're looking for a husband, I can help you find one. I can help you charm the fucking socks off of anybody. And that's when they agree to him trying to introduce her to lords and help her gain the interest of someone. Then Eloise and Cressida have that talk that they originally had in the show, where Eloise is just like, what you did to Penn was really fucked up, and I might not be friends with her anymore, but I don't condone that behavior. Don't be shitty like that. And Cressida's, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. This is probably why I don't have friends. This whole society pits women against each other, so I'm not used to being kind towards other women, and so I appreciate you calling me out. I hope you're not mad at me and you still want to be friends. And Eloise says, yes, I don't expect you to apologize to Penn, but let's try to do less of shit like that if you're gonna hang out with me. Okay, and then the next day, Colin and Penn are hanging out. Same scene as before, when they're like walking through the park, and she's got her fan, and he's trying to let me see your skills, girl. Let me see you try and flirt. And she's awkward. She's awkward and funny, and Colin's got this look on his face like, what? Why are you so bad at this? I forgot which YouTuber it was, but they had a really good point. I think it might have been Sammy Bates, but they had a really good point about that whole scene that I thought was really fascinating, and I think should be played up a little bit more, or will be played up a little bit more within my version. And that's that Colin is stunned that Penelope is not as charming and interesting and open with people that aren't him, because he gets that Penelope. He gets the version of Penelope that no one else gets to see. And so he's just baffled that she's not good at this. He sees all her good qualities, her great qualities. So he's just floored, like baffled that she doesn't know how to flirt, and that it's causing an issue with men being interested in her. So he's just, girl, what is this? So apparently we need to start from scratch, and I think we need to play with some comedy here. Nicola Coughlan is mostly a comedic actress. She can absolutely do drama. If you've seen Big Mood, she can do drama, but she's mostly a comedic actress, and I think there are moments within the show where she's funny, and I'm like, y'all should let her do that a little bit more. Not a lot, but a little, because Penn is a serious character, but I think they need to let her do that a little bit more, because those lighthearted moments are really good and it's really funny, and that's where she really shines. And I think her and Luke play off each other very well during those moments. I just think that moment would be really great to spend a lot more time in, just the two of them, and turn it a little comedic to where it's just a little funny, because he's just so amused at how bad she is at this, and she's amused that he's amused because he has no idea that she would be really bad at flirting. And they're at the same park that Eloise and Cressida are at, and Eloise and Cressida spot them together laughing and joking and whatnot. And later that evening, Eloise asks him about what he was doing with Penn in the park. He's just, what do you mean, what was I doing with Penn in the park? She's my friend. I hang out with her all the time. And Eloise says, you know, we're not friends anymore. He doesn't mean I can't be friends with her anymore. And that sparks the two of them getting into an argument. And through the argument, Eloise just goes ham and forgets herself and goes, you think Penelope, and you really fucking don't, because if you knew her, you would know that she's actually Lady Whistledown. And that bitch spills the fucking beans. And Colin is shooketh. He is shook. He's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Penn is not Lady Whistledown. And Eloise is, you know what? Fuck it. Cat's out of the bag. Why not go whole hog? And she tells him everything. And she's just, yeah, Penn is Lady Whistledown. And Colin is just absolutely devastated by it. Episode 2, Colin is still reeling and really vexed by what Eloise told him about Penn. He just can't believe it, and he's upset and devastated by it, because he's just like, holy fuck, you know, if Penn's Lady Whistledown, she did a lot of fucking damage to me, to Marina, to Eloise. How could she? And he's also like upset with Eloise because that bitch knew and didn't say anything. And he's also upset at the way Eloise told him. She didn't tell him gently. She told him in this like gotcha way, like, I know something you don't know, and you're an idiot for not knowing, you're a fool. And so he's upset with her, and so Eloise turns to Benedict for comforts, because they're very close and they spend time together. And she doesn't tell Benedict that Penn is Lady Whistledown or what Colin's exactly mad at her about. She expresses her feelings to him, and he tries to comfort her. And in this episode, we get Lord Debling and Penn running into each other in town, making small talk, having a bit of a flirtation. So we see that progressing a little bit more. She may be bad at flirting, but she's for some reason really good at conversing with him. She seems to be really good at flirting to a degree with him. She feels comfortable and more herself around Lord Debling, which allows her to speak more freely with him, which he appreciates and makes him more interested in her. And in this episode is where we spend some more time with Canthony, and we also introduce Lord Anderson as Lady Danbury's brother, and we bring in that inheritance solicitor to come and scare Portia. And that's when she just tells her two daughters, like, y'all better get to baby making, because like we are about to lose our money. Y'all better get to some baby making and making heir so we don't lose the money that we have. And I would end this episode at a ball, because of course, and Lord Debling fills out Penelope's dance card. I think it'd be really cute if he wrote his name all the way down her dance card, so she'd have to dance with him and only him the whole night. But I do know in Regency era, that is a major declaration. If you danced with only one partner for the entire night, I understand that's a huge declaration of engagement or romance between two people. So maybe not that. I don't want her to scandalize the ton that deeply, that quickly with Lord Debling. So maybe they just have one dance together. And I think this would also be the episode that'd be great to introduce John Sterling, Lord Kilmartin, to Francesca. Okay, so episode 3, Lord Debling comes to the Featherington home to call on Penelope, which kind of shocks her mom and her sisters, who were being bitches about it. But nevertheless, Portia is nothing if not an opportunist. And so that bitch is, oh, this rich man is showing interest in Penn? Cool. let's do this. Never thought it would happen, but okay. He comes and he calls on Penn, and they have a good time, and they share interests, and they talk about books and all that kind of stuff. And then he bids her farewell and goes about his business. And then Colin shows up, and Colin's like, I want to talk to Penn. And they talk privately in the garden again. And Portia's just kind of, what the fuck is going on with this? Is he courting my daughter? What's happening? But in her mind, there's no way Colin could ever be interested in her daughter. So therefore, she never chaperones them when they're together. She pays them no mind. When he comes to visit and talk to her, she's just like, all right, fuck it, whatever. The Bridgerton boys here again. Because that is one thing about the original airing of season 3 that I absolutely love, that no one gave a fuck about the two of them ignoring societal norms and rules about women and men being alone together or having a friendship, because they just didn't see it for them. And it turns out you actually probably should have been fucking paying attention, because your daughter got finger banged, proposed to, engaged, and pregnant all within 24 hours. But anyway, yeah. Colin comes to see Penn. He's really upset and angry with her, and he tells her that Eloise told me your lady whistled down. Please tell me that's not true. Penn admits it. He's hurt. He's distraught. He's upset. She feels so bad. She's explaining herself and blah, blah, blah. And Penn is trying really hard to explain herself and her motivations and apologize. And she's so sorry that she hurt him. She's so sorry that she hurt Eloise. And Colin opts to do the thing that Eloise should have done, which is let her explain. So he sits and listens to her talk about how she feels ignored and disrespected and abused by society as a whole and by her own family, and she doesn't have a voice. And so Lady Whistledown was an opportunity for her to have a voice, and to also show all these people that who think they're so much better than her, to the point where they don't need to interact with her on a human level. They can just ignore her. She's just this girl against the wall at a party. And it's not necessary that she expects people to fawn all over her and all that kind of stuff, but she expects to at least be acknowledged as a person, and she doesn't even feel that. She doesn't even have that, not even in her own goddamn home. And Colin himself can understand that, because he's the Penelope of his own family. He's treated the same way. His family might not be so brutal and nasty, but if you go back to seasons 1 and 2, the snide comments, especially from fucking Eloise, oh my god, but the snide comments that get made about Colin, and it's not just sibling bantering, it's really some nasty stuff that his family says to him, and they don't take him seriously, and they don't see him as a serious person. That was his whole motivation for wanting to marry Marina. It wasn't necessarily love. It was just he thought that marriage, being a husband, would make him seem like a serious person, a serious man, someone to be respected and listened to, and not ignored and not dismissed. And he found that within a relationship with Marina. He was just like, oh, here's this girl who doesn't know me, and I just have to be charming with her, and I can do charming. I'm charming, and I just have to be upfront and honest with my feelings. And he did those things in order to snag her and to want to move forward with her and being married and being a husband, because he was just like, okay, if I'm a husband and then a father, people have no choice but to take me seriously, to understand me, to listen to me, because I would have status in that way. I wouldn't just be the third Bridgerton boy. And what's her name? Sammy Bates on YouTube. She does a fantastic character analysis and character breakdown of Colin. Please check it out. It's amazing. Where she thoroughly explains how there's a reason Colin and Penelope are friends, and it's because they see each other in one another. And they have a genuine care and respect for each other, and the only people who seem to really listen and understand one another and see each other. So yeah, check out Sammy Bates' video on Colin Bridgerton, her breakdown, her character analysis of him. It's fantastic. But yeah, she strongly hammers on that point that Colin is the Penelope within the Bridgerton family. But yeah, all of that allows him to really sit down and listen to Penn and what she has to say. So he goes home and he tells Eloise that he talked to Penn, and he tells Eloise, I'm going to choose to forgive her. I listened to what she had to say, and I understand it, and I empathize with her, and so I'm going to choose to forgive Penn. what she did was hurtful and, you know, unexpected. And you know, coming from her, it hurt a lot. But like, I heard her, I listened to her, and she heard me and listened to me. And so I'm going to choose to forgive her. And Eloise is just like, I'm just not there yet. And he's like, I'm not trying to force you to be, take your time. That's fine. But me, myself, I'm going to choose to forgive Penelope. Episode 4. Okay, with episode 4, Lord Debling is, you know, really like, he's really hammering home that he likes Pen and he's actively courting her. And that's fine by Pen. That's fine by Pen. It's not that she doesn't have feelings for Colin anymore, but she's choosing to let that go. She doesn't think that there's anything that's going to happen between them, especially now with him knowing that she's Lady Whistledown. Yes, he was really understanding and empathetic with her about it, but she's just been pining after him for far too long. And now with her being exposed as Lady Whistledown to him, she thinks that he'll never see her in a romantic light as the woman that, you know, as a romantic interest, and as the woman that she wants him to see her as. She's moving forward with the whole courtship with Lord Debling, and it's sweet and it's romantic and it's nice. But again, Lord Debling emphasizes that he can care about her and love her as a person, but being in love with her, he just doesn't know. And Pen's fine with that. She's fine with possibly accepting a proposal for him that wouldn't include a marriage out of love, but a marriage out of mutual respect. Colin, on the other hand, is spending time with Pen as well. He's really fascinated with her quote-unquote alter ego, Lady Whistledown. He's just really curious as to how she came up with it, how she goes about it, how she's maintained all this anonymity about it so far. And he wants to know how Eloise found out, and he tells her that he loves her writing and it's so good, and it just sucks that as a woman she feels like she can't openly publish a book or feel confident enough to do so, and blah blah blah. And then they start talking about his writing and his journals, and he's just, oh, I've never thought about writing a manuscript. I just have journals. And Pen's just, you know, we've been writing letters back and forth to each other for years, and like, just your letters are just beautiful enough. So I gotta believe that if you chose to write a manuscript, if you chose to turn your journals into a book, that it would be successful and really well written. And so they're talking about that and they're bonding over it. And then Pen asks if she could read his journals, and his journals are very personal, and he does admit to her like there's some stuff in there about sexual exploits and what I was doing up to my travel, so I don't know if I necessarily want you to read that. But Pen's just, it's okay, I totally understand, but if at any point you would like to share that with me, I would love to read it. And Colin's just so flattered, because to him, Pen's just a really great, successful writer, even if only they know it. And at the end of this episode, Lord Debling finally proposes to Penelope. She accepts, and Colin is fucking shook. He is shook because it's not necessarily that he didn't expect Lord Debling to propose to Pen. He didn't expect how he feels about Lord Debling proposing to Pen and her accepting. It is rattling that boy's bones. Okay, episode 5. We opened episode 5 with that same dream sequence that Colin had about Penelope, that romantic gothic kissing in the moonlight dream that he had about her, where he's like walking out of the mist like fucking Mr. Darcy. So we open with that, and throughout the episode he's daydreaming about her, he's fantasizing about her. One thing I did want to emphasize about Colin's little dream about Pen is I kind of wanted to imply that it was a wet dream. So he wakes up from that dream, he looks down at the sheets, and he's, oh shit, and he's fucked, the maid has to change the sheets now. She's gonna know that I busted a nut all up in my sheets. So Penelope's engagement is like the talk of Mayfair, so of course Portia is eating that shit up, and her sisters, again, being bitches, but Pen's ignoring it. Pen can't really focus on the joy of it, because even though she said yes, even though she knew she was going to go forward with this, something is chapping her ass about it. She's anxious, she's a little nervous, she's got this little tick, she's scratching at herself, not not crazy to where she's bleeding or anything, or she's developing this weird rash or something. My whole thought process about that is just that her anxiety about this whole situation that she was so sure of yesterday, it's now sunken into her brain now, and what her future is going to hold. And it's a little overwhelming. It's a little too much. And again, she's not really being paid attention to. She's still being ignored by Portia, who's just too wrapped up in the fact that the whole time is talking about Penn and her engagement to Lord Debling, who's he's a lord and he's wealthy, and he will give Penn the privacy that she wants and that she needs. He may not love her, he may not be in love with her, he cares enough about her to make her his wife and to look after his vast estate. That's all Portia's got on the fucking brain. But Penn, on the other hand, she's growing increasingly itchy and nervous about the future, or the future she'll have with Lord Debling. Colin, on the other hand, is responding to this by delving deeper into his rakish behavior, but it's just not working. He's visiting the brothel with the prostitutes, and he's got performance anxiety. He's not really focused. His mind's somewhere else, and we all know where his mind is. It's on fucking Penelope. He's hanging out with his shitbag friends, and he realizes, oh my god, I fucking can't stand these guys. They're not even really my friends. They're trash. What am I doing here? I'm not like this. I don't want this. I'm doing everything Penn said in that Lady Whistledown newsletter. I'm pretending to be something I'm not. This shit is just really rattling me, and I find it all tiresome and lonely, and I find these people that I'm surrounded by tiresome and lonely. And Colin gets forced to go to Penn's engagement party, and he can't do it. He's watching her glide across the room with a smile and with Lord Debling's arm around her, and he's fuck, I can't do this. And so he just gets drunk and pulls an Irish goodbye and just fucking leaves. And Violet confronts him on his behavior. She's just like, where did you run off to? It's bad enough that every time I saw you, you were sipping on a whiskey flask or downing some wine or whatever and stumbling around, and then you just up and disappeared. What is going on with you? And he doesn't want to talk about it. Violet knows. She knows. She's figured out that Colin has developed some really serious feelings for Penn. And it's not necessarily so much that he doesn't feel like she may not have the same feelings back for him. That's a part of it, but the other part is she is engaged. She is now an engaged woman, and he feels at a loss. There's nothing he can do about it. He feels like it's too late to even remotely do something about it. And Violet, the queen of the big grand romantic gesture, is just, is it though? Is it really over? Is there truly nothing you can do to not win Penelope Featherington's heart? And that kind of sits with him and resonates with him, and he's thinking about it. So we rehash the same in the original airing, where everybody's at Sunday church and the priest is reading off announcements and who's getting married within a couple of weeks and if anybody objects. And this is the moment. This is the fucking moment that I think would floor the fuck out of everybody. Is the priest announced Penn and Lord Debling's pending engagement and then ask if anybody objects. And at first nobody does, but then Colin's like, I gotta fucking do something. So my guy stands up and says he objects. And the episode just ends. The episode just ends. And then that's when we go to episode 6. Okay, episode 6 opens where we're in some sort of back room or back office of the church, and Portia and Violet and Anthony, because he's the Viscount and he's the head of the Bridgerton household, is there, and Lord Debling and Penn and Colin, and everybody's bitching. Everybody's screaming and yelling at each other. Portia's calling names, she's pointing fingers. Everybody's in a fucking uproar, but Penn and Colin, who are just deadly silent, and they're just staring at each other because Penn is just, what the hell is this? What is going on? Did he really just stand up there and object? And Colin's just he just wants to be alone with her, to talk to her and to express his feelings for her, but nobody will leave them alone, and everybody's fighting and beefing with each other right now, and it's just driving them crazy. And then all the noise just fades out, and we just get Penn and Colin standing in front of each other, and Colin about to tell her in front of all these angry bitchin' ass people who are ignoring them that he loves her and he doesn't want her to marry Lord Debling. He wants her to marry him. But instead, Lord Dublin is just like, he puts an end to all the bickering and all the arguments and all that. And he's just, look, Penn and I are going to talk. All of you get the fuck out. Everybody get out, especially you, Colin. Everybody get out and just let me talk to my fiance, because his ass just interrupted our wedding announcement with an objection, and she does not look as upset and as angry as I feel like she should. Penn does not have the reaction of a woman who's upset that somebody objected to her marriage. She more so has a reaction of somebody who's just surprised by it, and maybe pleasantly surprised by it. So everybody gets the fuck out, and it's Violet and Portia and Anthony and Colin in the congregation, and Portia's just bitching up a storm at Colin, but he can't hear nothing. He's not listening to her. He's just pacing up and down because he wants to know what the fuck is going on in there, and if he has to go in there and rescue Penn because he's being abusive or something, whatever. And then finally Lord Devlin comes out, and he doesn't say anything to anybody. He just storms out of the fucking church. And then Portia's, what the hell happened? What's going on? But he just leaves. And then Penn finally comes out, right? And she goes up to Colin and she says, tell me why right here and now you objected to me and Lord Devlin getting married. And that's when Colin gives like this really beautiful love confessional speech to her about how he feels about her, and Penn's got like tears running down her eyes. And then she's, okay, good, then I made the right decision turning down Lord Devlin's proposal. And Portia is pissed. She is pissed. But Violet is on cloud nine. She's got tears in her eyes. She's clutching her chest. She's staring at them fondly as like her son tells Penelope Featherington that like he is in love with her. He wants to be with her, and he's just so happy that she is no longer engaged to Lord Devlin. And later, Violet goes to Lady Danbury's house to tell her like all the hot goss, all the shit that went down. And Lady Danbury's she's just so impressed by Colin, and she's also not surprised because to her, they always should have been together. And then later that night, oh, I love this. Later that night, Penn sneaks out to go to the printers to drop off her latest issue of Lady Whistledown, because she's even got to write about herself. As much as she may not want to, she has to talk about how she turned down Lord Devlin's proposal. And she goes to the printer, she pays, she does all her things, and then she goes back to her carriage. And then when she opens the door, Colin is sitting in the carriage, and he was at her house meaning to sneak in, or to at least bribe Ray, Penn's lady's maid, to bring her outside so he can, talk to her. Just wanted to see her, like, the boy's in love. But he noticed her getting in the carriage and taking off, and so he followed the carriage, and that's when he realized that she was, dropping off her Lady Whistledown, and he's just shocked that she would even write about herself. And she's just like, I've written about myself before, I have to, and it doesn't draw suspicion if I'm also writing about myself. If I wrote about everybody in the ton but me, then people will easily figure out that like I'm Lady Whistledown. And he's, really impressed by this and all that kind of stuff. And she gets in the carriage, and he hands her his journals because he wants her to read them. And Penn's just so flattered by that. And my favorite part about that is also cue the carriage scene. So this is where the carriage scene that originally aired will take place. Colin's just whispering sweet nothings in her ear and straight up finger bangs her in the carriage. Finger blasted right then and there. Same Pitbull song, same dress. Maybe not same dress, but I do love that dress that she's wearing in the show when they engage in the carriage scene. But yeah, cue the carriage scene, except them, actually no, I was going to say except them getting interrupted, they go to completion. But I actually like the idea of them getting carried away, carried away in the carriage, and then the footmen, the carriage drivers, knock on the carriage to be like, Miss Featherington, we're at your house. So yeah, I like that idea more. So yeah, they get interrupted again because they unexpectedly got carried away and didn't realize how close they were to the Featherington home, and Penelope's got to sneak in. And it's at this point that Colin asks Penelope to marry him, and she accepts. Okay, episode 7, Colin shows up to call on Penelope. Portia's still pissed at him. She lets him in, And before he even goes to see Penn, he tells Portia that like he meant everything he said in the church. He really does love Penn. He really does care about her. He wants to make her his wife, and he asks for her permission to marry Penn. And so she's just okay. And so he goes into the morning room to meet with Penn, who is happy to see him. And they talk, and then that's when he like officially gets down on one knee and like proposes to her. He gives her the ring. She's got tears in her eyes rolling down her face. She's so happy, and so she accepts his proposal. Colin goes home. He tells the rest of the Bridgertons that he proposed to Penn, and she accepts. Everybody's happy, of course, except Stankface Eloise. Eloise is pissed, and Colin's begging her to be happy for him, and she's just absolutely not, and you know why I'm not. And so Colin visits Penn again, and he tells her that he told the whole family, and Penn asks how did Eloise take it, and he tells her the truth that she's not happy. And Penn's just, okay, here's the deal. I don't know if I can marry you, if I can marry into this family with my best friend hating me and not giving us her blessing. Like, I don't need her to forgive me for what I did, but at the very least would like her to bless our union, to give us her blessing, to understand that we're in love and we want to be married, we want to start a family, all that. Like, I at the very least need that. And if she can't give that to us, I don't know if I can go through with this, because she means a lot to me. I care about her a lot. I miss her, and I hurt her badly, and I totally understand that. But I don't know if I could do this. And Colin's, oh, fuck no. Oh, fuck no. You are going to marry me. You are going to be a Bridgerton. I will fucking make Eloise, at the very least, talk to you. And I know this seems like emotional manipulation by Penn, but like it's not, because I want to put a strong emphasis on Penn not necessarily needing Eloise's blessing, but wanting it to the point to where she doesn't know if she could comfortably become a part of this family if her ex-best friend, if one of the Bridgertons fucking hated her, especially the girl that again was her. It's not necessarily that she's asking for Eloise to straight up forgive her. She's not asking for forgiveness. She's asking for just a blessing, like just to be like, look, I don't fuck with you no more, but my brother seems to be madly in love with you, and all I want is his happiness, and you seem to make him happy. Yes, fine, absolutely, you have my blessing. Colin goes to Eloise, and he's just like, look, Penn is not going to marry me without at least a conversation with you. So can you please, I am begging you, because I am in love with this girl and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. I want to marry her, be her husband, and have a million babies with her. I need at the very least for you to have a conversation with her. You don't have to forgive her, but at the very least just hear her out where she's coming from and to give us your blessing. And so Eloise agrees. So Eloise and Penn meet up and they hash it out. They're yelling, and then there's tears, and then there's hugs. Like, Eloise herself apologizes to Penn for how she treated her throughout their friendship. She thought she knew her, or she claimed to be Penelope's best friend, but she didn't know shit about her. She didn't pay enough attention to her to care enough about her to even know, to figure out that she was Lady Whistledown, that she didn't have a voice. She didn't feel heard enough, even within their friendship, that she felt the need to go and create this persona to express herself. And she was so far up her own ass that she didn't even notice that, like, her best friend was in love with her brother and has been since they were children. And so she apologizes for that. She apologizes for all the mean and nasty things she said to Penn. She apologizes for turning her room upside down, going through her shit. Penn apologizes for all the mean and nasty things she said to her during that time. She apologizes for the things she wrote. She apologizes for ruining Eloise, budding romance or friendship or whatever that she had with Theo, the print shop boy, and slandering her in the Lady Whistledown newsletter and causing embarrassment for her. And basically they cry, they hug it out, bitch, they're besties again. Also, at the same time, the Queen is getting closer to finding out who Lady Whistledown is, and tells Lady Danbury that she's going to offer a $5,000 reward for anybody who has any information about who Lady Whistledown is, who can unmask her, who has any tidbit of evidence or a clue as to who it might be. And so that's when Lady Danbury pays a visit to Penn, and lets Pen know, hey girl, everybody in the ton may be stupid, but I am not. I know that you're Lady Whistledown, and I just came here to tell you that first off, keep up the good work, you're awesome. I love reading the column, girl. But also, the queen is hot on your ass. She is hot on your ass, hot on your trail. She is offering a $5,000 reward to anybody who has any information whatsoever, a crumb of fucking information about who you are. And Pen sweating bullets. She's just like, holy fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I also like the idea of Colin being there as well. And Colin's freaking out too. He's trying to do his hero thing, trying to come up with ways that maybe he could take the blame for it, or maybe they can pin it on Cressida. And finally, Lady Danbury is, none of that's gonna work. I think the best thing for you to do is have a private audience with the queen. How about I get you a private audience with the queen? You confess to her that you're Lady Whistledown. You guys have a little talk, and maybe she'll let that shit go. And Colin is totally against it because he just thinks the queen is gonna behead Penelope. She is about to like tar and feather you within the square. Like, absolutely not. But Pen actually thinks Lady Danbury's idea is a good idea, so she opts to do that instead. Pen gets a private audience with the queen via Lady Danbury. She gets snuck into the palace. She gets taken to this little room. The queen enters, and the queen is... you know what? Actually, I like the idea of the queen and Lady Danbury entering the room. Okay, so this is what happened. This is what I think. Okay, so I like the idea of Lady Danbury going to the queen, and I got you a private audience with Lady Whistledown. And the queen going, you know who she is? And she's just like, I figured it out. Or no, not that she figured out, because I don't like the idea of the queen being mad at Lady Danbury for knowing and not telling her. Okay, we'll do this. Okay, we do this. Lady Danbury is just like, hey, the person who's Lady Whistledown came to me and told me who they are, and they requested a private audience with you. And the queen is like, holy shit, are you fucking serious? She's like, yeah, we snuck her through the back of the palace, through all the tunnels and secret passageways. But anyway, she's here. She's in this room right here. If you want to talk to her, she's in there. If you want to know who it is, go in there. So the queen goes in there, and she sees Penelope in there, and they're just staring at each other. And then all of a sudden the queen smiles, and the queen's, the redheaded wallflower. And like, Penelope's just floored because she didn't think anybody would even notice her, let alone the fucking queen of England. So she's just like, yeah, I've noticed you. I know that you're the redheaded girl in the yellow dresses, and I saw you walk in when you had that bad bitch green dress on and that French girl hairstyle. Like, I saw you. And this doesn't really surprise the queen. It makes sense. And she asks Penelope how she's gone about keeping her identity a secret, how she's gone about writing Lady Whistledown, and Pen tells her, and Pen's just a little nervous. She's just like, are you gonna hang me now in the square? And the queen's no. And so they agree to be frenemies, and the queens keep up the good work, but also know that, don't hold back either, because neither will I. And Pen's like, understood, got it. And Pen girl bosses out of there, and the queen watches as, the palace staff take her out of the palace, and she's joined by Colin in some little back hallway or back door where he was like nervously waiting for her, and she smiles because they're cute together or whatever. Okay, and after this, Pen goes home, and she catches a conversation that Portia is having with that inheritance insurance lawyer guy or whatever, who's just basically, I know you're a fucking liar, I know you're dead and didn't leave you that money, and we're gonna take the money back, and all whatever threat he was making. It seemed really vague. I didn't really understand exactly what he was going to do, take the money back or tell the queen, who fucking knows. But anyway, Pen comes home, and she stumbles upon that conversation as the guy, and then the inheritance lawyer guy leaves, and then Pen is pissed, and she starts yelling at her mom about how she can't believe that she conned people at the ton and stole their money, and the fake jewelry scam she was in on. And in their arguments, Pen accidentally confesses to being Lady Whistledown, and then her mom starts yelling at her because she's like, I can't believe all the stuff you wrote, especially about me, about your sisters, about this family. And then Pen starts going on about you know, why she did what she did, and Portia doesn't want to hear it, and so they're just both too angry and they're yelling at each other. And then Penn's, fuck this, I'm going upstairs, and Portia is fine, go upstairs, I'm gonna stay here. And so they're just both in opposite ends of the house stewing after having them both find out that they're unfortunately not as unalike as they thought they were. And Penn's especially devastated because Penn's whole thing is that she thought she was better than her mother, but it turns out she's actually more like her than she ever expected. Okay, episode 8. Colin picks Penn up from her house and shows her their new home. Cue the mirror scene happening exactly as it did in the original airing. Kate and Anthony, they announce their pregnancy and their desire to go to India to give birth to the baby. Violet is upset by this, and she confides in Lord Anderson about her feeling really upset about her growing empty nest. As much as she loves all her children getting married and starting families of their own, like, it's a little devastating for her house to start getting emptier and emptier. And then on top of that, Anthony and Kate aren't even going to have the baby there. They're going to go all the way to India to have the baby, so she's a little devastated by that, and her and Lord Anderson grow a little closer. Colin and Penn have an engagement party. Eloise brings Cressida, which upsets Colin and Penn, but they let it go, realizing that Eloise and Cressida are actually good friends after all. And I think it would be really poignant at this point that Penn is really observing them, because Girls Lady Whistledown, she's done some observing. She understands other people. She sees what everybody else doesn't see. And in her observing Eloise and Cressida, a light bulb kind of clicks on for Penn, where she's, holy fuck, I think these two bitches are in love. They may not realize it yet, but I see it. And Penn's just, oh my god, Eloise is in love with the bitch that's been bullying me since we were fucking children. I like the idea of Penn always knowing that Eloise might have sexual or romantic inclinations towards other women. So she's not at all really surprised by that. She's just disgusted that it's fucking Cressida. So yeah, everybody's having a good time at Penn and Colin's engagement party. The talk of the party is also how the Queen took back her $5,000 reward for the identity of Lady Whistledown. She knows who Lady Whistledown is and she'll never tell, and therefore there's no longer a need for the hunt for Lady Whistledown, and the $5,000 reward is not been claimed. And everybody is just talking about this and up in their own opinions and feelings about it, that Penn and Colin sees the opportunity to sneak away and have a little bit of sexy times. I'm thinking him going down on her in a office or a room, like just a room that's empty or something like that. I like the idea of them sneaking away to fool around, and them fooling around is like Colin going down on her. Oh, that would be amazing. That'd be fucking amazing. That was some straight up titty play because she has amazing breast. And I love the idea, because if you haven't read the book, he is obsessed with her tits in the book. And I absolutely love that they transferred that a bit into the show as well. Episode 9, because in my headcanon, we get 10 episodes, not funky ass only 8 episodes. By the way, in case you weren't aware, the reason a lot of shows have just reduced their seasons to 8 episodes is because 8 episodes is the bare minimum requirement to be considered a full season. 8 episodes, more importantly, also to people within the industry, is the bare minimum of episodes required to qualify for an Emmy for a full season. If you have less than 8 episodes, you only qualify for limited series or miniseries categories, but 8 episodes is the bare minimum requirement for consideration at the Emmys for a full season television series, which is why everybody was just so fucking up in arms about what the fuck is that fucking show that everybody was like obsessed with for the minute. Ugh, God, what is that show? It was a Mike White show about rich people on vacation being dicks and shit. Oh God, what is it called? Hold on for a second. The White Lotus, that's what it's called. The White Lotus. Yeah, the first season of White Lotus wasn't even really a season. It was supposed to be a limited series, a mini series, but then HBO was like, hey, this shit took off and it blew up and it's winning a whole bunch of awards, so let's make a season 2. In case you weren't aware of a bunch of stupid industry inside baseball Hollywood stuff, like, people were pissed. People were pissed that that show kept qualifying for full season categories when it was under 8 episodes. But anyway, yeah. And a good example of that, honestly, is there is a season of Sex and the City that's just 8 episodes. I can't remember which season it is, but that was the year that Sarah Jessica Parker was pregnant. She was going to go on maternity leave, so they wouldn't have a full 13 episode season. So they did the bare minimum of 8 episodes in order to qualify for Emmys that year. So yeah, and also because shows, especially streaming service shows, have just gotten more and more expensive, and so it's just cost effective for these streaming services to just do the bare minimum, which is 8 episodes. So yeah, that's why a lot of these shows are 8 episodes instead of anywhere from 13 to 24, which would have been amazing. But anyway, Episode 9. Episode 9, short and sweet. It's Pauline's wedding and their wedding breakfast. Madame Delacroix is invited. I absolutely cannot fucking stand in the airing of the show that Madame Delacroix and Penelope don't have a thoroughly shown full relationship, like a full friendship. Pen is Lady Whistledown and cannot share that information with anybody. And the people that do know are angry with her about it. There's only one person she could talk about it to who's encouraging and happy and likes that she's Lady Whistledown, and that's Madame Delacroix, the modiste. So it's just crazy to me that the show doesn't even attempt to explore that friendship, to show that more. And I absolutely fucking hate that, because she's got this deep secret, and the only person who's happy for her about it, who knows about it, is Madame Delacroix. So their friendship should be, it should be more prominent within the show. I said in a previous episode, I loved that Pen spent her wedding night having a drink with her and them talking about it, and Madame Delacroix really trying to encourage Pen to not give up being Lady Whistledown. And I just would that explored more, or just at the very least shown more, them being closer and them being friends. Madame Delacroix wasn't even at the wedding. I would have loved if she showed up to the wedding as a friend of Pen's. But in my headcanon, in my show, my version of the show that I am sharing with you all here now, Madame Delacroix is invited, and she is a confidant of Penelope. So yeah, episode 9 is the wedding and the wedding breakfast. Oh, I forgot this one part of the wedding that I would absolutely love to have written and seen on the show. So I would have been giggling, kicking my feet with tears in my eyes if Pen's brother-in-laws, if her sister's husbands gave her away at the wedding. Oh my God, how great would that have been? I think it's great that Portia gave her away. My mom gave me away at my wedding because I'm not close to my dad and he was not invited. But when my husband and I got married, my mom gave me away. So it's not that I don't think that women can do it or that it's just weird if a woman does it. Absolutely not. I just think it would have been a nice touch, and it would have been sweeter and so fucking adorable if her sweet, kind, gentle brother-in-laws, who've always treated her so kindly and with respect and don't ignore her and really truly love her and recognize her and see her. I think it'd be really great if they asked Pen if they could give her away at the wedding, and they do, and they walk her down the aisle. Tell me you would not shed a tear at that shit. And I think that would be a great moment to highlight to her sisters, for her sisters to acknowledge, are we the bitches? We're bitches, right? Because our sweet as pie husbands are walking our sister down the aisle. I think that would have been a great moment if Prudence and Philippa are sitting there in the pews and they watch their husbands give their sister away, and they just can't help but be touched by that, and they themselves at that moment realize, okay, we need to be better. We need to be better to our sister. We need to be kinder. If our husbands clearly care about her and see something in her and see her and recognize her as a person and as a family, then why can't we? I think that would be a really introspective moment. We don't need to hear any dialogue from them or really see them outright say anything or apologize to Penelope. I actually would hate that because that would be a little too cheesy. I would just like it more if they held each other's hands as they watched Pen walk down the aisle with their husbands, and they just give each other this recognized look of, yeah, we should be better sisters. We should be far better sisters than we are. And like there's tears in their eyes because they can't help it. It's a wedding, and they're also a little happy for their sister getting married and watching as their husbands walk her down the aisle to her husband to be. So I would love that. But yeah, so Pauline wedding, Madame Delacroix's there, her brother-in-laws give her away, we have the wedding breakfast. I would love to see them dance at the wedding breakfast. I absolutely need him to run the back of his hand down her cheek like he did on the show when it aired, because I just, oh god, that was so beautiful and so romantic to me. Like him just making, you know, uninterrupted eye contact with her and being so amazed and taken by her beauty, and he just runs his hand, the back of his hand down her cheek. Oh my god, I would love that. And then yeah, afterwards, like, cue the wedding night where they get their bone on, and I would love if the queen sent them like a wedding gift secretly or something. Like that would be really fucking cute. Yeah, the queen sends them like a wedding gift or whatever, and Penn's just, she smiles to herself, she's happy, and then they get to their wedding night busyness, child, like ripping nightgowns off and fucking on the nightstand, that type of shit. That's the shit I need. I need fucking in front of the fireplace. I need the whole sex montage. I need it all. So yeah, wedding night, sex montage after Penn gets her gift from the queen. And the episode ends with Francesca and John running off to Scotland to elope and leaving a letter for Violet to find in the morning. Episode 10, we are wrapping up subplots, bitch. Okay, subplots, we are wrapping up. Violet is devastated by Francesca's letter about eloping, and she's really upset, and she confides into Lady Danbury and Lord Henderson about it. What else are we wrapping up? Oh, Cressida fails at persuading Lord Debling into a marriage of convenience. He's just, nah, girl, you're a bit of a mean girl, and I don't trust you. So that's unfortunate. So Cressida is getting closer and closer to her father marrying her off to some octogenarian that she does not want to have sex with. Lady Danbury and Marcus fix their bullshit, and she gives him permission to date Violet. Side note to that, I absolutely fucking hate the reason that Lady Danbury has all this resentment and is mad at her brother. It's so stupid. I think she's the smartest character on the fucking show, and there's no way that intelligent woman will be mad at a 10-year-old version of her brother for what she believes was purposefully snitching on her for running away. Like, he even states, girl, I was 10 and you ran away in the middle of the night, and all I know is that women should not be left alone and that they are constantly in perpetual danger, and you ran off. So yeah, I told Dad that you just ran off in the middle of the night because I thought something happened to you. I thought you were hurt. I thought you were going to get her if you did not get found and brought back home. I just think it's absolutely fucking insane that she was holding a grudge against a 10-year-old version of her brother who just was looking out for her safety. That does not read well for her character at all. That is so out of character. That is wildly out of character for Lady Danbury. I think it'd be better if the reason she has all this resentment and anger towards her brother is if his wife, his first wife that passed away, was a really good close friend of hers, and he cheated on her. He emotionally wrecked that lady for the first half of their marriage. He told Violet that his marriage initially wasn't a love match, but then they learned to grow and respect each other and to care and love for each other. And then unfortunately she passed away, so he didn't get enough good years with her because he spent the first half of their marriage being a dog, being a whole fucking rake. So I think it'd be far more interesting and better written if Lady Danbury was just like, hey, you married one of my really good friends and you fucking dogged her out. Like, you openly cheated on her. It was like an open secret amongst a ton that you were just sleeping around. And yeah, you guys might not have been a love match, but there was no reason to be so disrespectful and dishonor your marriage like that and just abuse your vows. And it's just a little too late for me. Like, she may have forgiven you and you guys grow past that and decided that you really need to work on your marriage and be better for yourselves and your children, but I will never forget that. I will never forget her coming to me crying about how shitty you are, about how she felt like less of a woman, like her a terrible wife because you were growing out fucking around with prostitutes and God knows who else. Like, how she at one point was damn near suicidal because she just thought she failed as a woman, as a wife. And it wasn't until she got her lick back until she cheated on on you and you felt that embarrassment, you felt how she felt for once and decided to switch it up and change your behavior, that you even started to really appreciate her. And by the time you started appreciating her, you know, she was sick and she was dying, and so you didn't get enough good years with somebody who was like, I thought, an angel, who meant the world to me, who I loved and cared about. So yeah, that was real shitty of you. And so I just think that's, oh God, that is so much better than the bullshit that we got between the two of them. And so, and it speaks very clearly as to why she would not want him fucking around with Violet. Come on now. Like, you can't tell me that's not better. So yeah, they fix their bullshit. He apologizes. He promises that he's never going to hurt Violet. And I absolutely love the conversation between Lady Danbury and Violet in the airing of season 3, in which, you know, Lady Danbury tells Violet that, look, if you want to fuck around with Marcus, you can. You're a grown woman and I totally respect that, and you don't need my permission. I certainly didn't ask your permission when I had an affair with your father, and nothing will ever come between us. We'll always be friends. And Violet reaffirming that. I absolutely love that conversation. So I would actually rehash that again within the series. Probably in episode 9 I would have that conversation between Violet and Lady Danbury, just letting her know, you're a grown woman, you can make your own decisions. I do believe that Marcus is a good man now. It's just that there was a long time, there was a good amount of years where he wasn't, and I don't ever want him to hurt you like he hurt my previous friend. So yeah, so we wrapped that shit up with Lady Danbury and her brother Marcus. Also, do not want Prudence and Philippa pregnant at all. How can I phrase this? I just don't think that they have earned that reward. I think the only victor within that whole baby race should only ever be Penn. It's not that I don't ever want them to have babies or anything, but I didn't like how all of a sudden they were nice to Penelope and she forgave them and then gave Farley the money for them to throw that tacky ass party, that tacky ass ball with the butterflies. I just felt like that was wrapped up too quickly and it wasn't sincere enough. I hated it. And I also hated, again, that all 3 of them were pregnant at the same time. Again, I just feel like Penn should have been the only victor of that reward. I like the idea of them discovering that they're not pregnant and both being like a little upset and distraught by it, but their husbands make it up to them by buying them jewelry or throwing them a ball or what have you. Or even, you know, Penelope feeling bad, as awful as they are, Penelope feeling bad that the both of them are really upset at the fact that they aren't pregnant, that they're not going to produce the heir. I like the idea of Penn buying jewelry, giving it to her brother-in-laws and tell them, like, say it's from you guys, don't say it's from me, just to ease their hurt about this happening or not happening rather. And they do that and they're happy and they're grateful and they're married to really good men. They know eventually they'll end up pregnant. It just didn't happen now. That's what I want. I also want to wrap up the nosy inheritance lawyer guy just having called off by the queen, by the crown, by her just being like, yeah, let this shit go. Let this shit with the Feathertons go. It's totally fine. And I like the idea of the queen under the impression that their inheritance came from Penn making money writing as Lady Whistledown, and her not knowing that it's mainly because Portia was scamming the fucking ton with fake ass jewelry. But yeah, we wrap that shit up. What else? Oh no, the Benedict side plot. We can have him. We 86 Lady Tilly, and instead we just bring in Paul. And Paul is somebody he meets somewhere within the season or whatever. They strike up a friendship, and their friendship seems to also come with some flirtation, and that flirtation is as a result of some heavy attraction between the two of them. And at some point they kiss. I don't want them to necessarily go all the way. I just want it confirmed that Benedict can show interest in a man. Therefore, it doesn't need to go all the way. Just the kiss is enough as confirmation, in my opinion. And it also leaves a nice little taste. But anyway, yeah, he and Paul meet at some point through the season, and they strike up a friendship. Their friendship is flirtatious. Their flirtation is because of their attraction. At some point, they kiss. Paul's really attracted to Benedict, and Benedict is really attracted to Paul. Even he's never been attracted to a man before, so he doesn't necessarily know how to navigate this. What he does know show is that he wants an out relationship, and he knows that they can't have that. And Paul is completely understanding of that. He totally gets where Benedict is coming from. And not only can they not have an open out relationship, Paul's not really a monogamy kind of guy anyway, even if they could. So they're like budding little romance, starts and ends very quickly, but they have respect for each other. They write letters, all that kind of bullshit. They're still friends to a degree. That's how I would do Benedict's little subplot. Just make it very quick. We're in and out, and the majority of the time we see him, he's spending more time with his family, and particularly Eloise, as she works through her feelings about Penn and Colin and Penn and their pending marriage, before she obviously forgives Penn and gives her blessing for their marriage. What's another subplot? The Mondridges. Okay, I know everybody hates the Mondridges. I like them. I like their incorporation into the show. I like their incorporation into being really strong family friends of the Bridgertons via Benedict and Colin, particularly Benedict. I think that's how we can actually work them more into the Bridgerton story. Maybe Paul is an old friend of Will's, and Will tries to subtly tell Benedict, hey, he's an old buddy of mine, but I also want you to know that Paul's kind of fruity. Paul's in a guy, so if that makes you uncomfortable, I just want to let you know in case you might be uncomfortable with that. And Benedict's not, and that's how he and Paul strike up their friendship, blah, blah, blah. I do like their introduction into the society of Alice's, a great distant aunt of hers, dying and not having any male heirs to leave her fortune to, or at least any close male heirs to leave her fortune to. Therefore, it gets left to Alice and Will's son, and that's how they end up introduced into high society, and how they end up becoming closer and closer friends with the Bridgertons, who were their family friends. In the Netflix airing of the show, I did that they were present at Francesca's wedding, that it showed that they have developed close familial relationships with them to now that they are family friends, like close family friends at the Bridgertons. But yeah, again, I would not spend nearly as much time on them as Netflix had. I would do the whole introducing them into society and how they ended up in that and all that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't spend any time on the whole bar thing. And that thing always sat wrong with me too, and especially considering Lady Danbury was a huge voice in that and telling them that they had to sell their bar. That seemed out of character to me too. She's just such a righteous lady. She's such a hey, fuck them, middle finger kind of lady, that it just didn't gel with me that she of all people would tell them that men in high society don't work, so you need to sell your bar. I think that would really be stupid. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the whole bar thing is a production thing. I don't even think it's a writing thing. I think that they were going to lose that set. They needed to turn it into something else, quite possibly Penn and Colin's new home, because all their sets are built, by the way. So I think it's a production thing. I think they were just, hey, we need to get rid of a set to make room for another set. So whose set can we fucking get rid of and explain away? And I think it's just Will's bar, and I think that's how they ended up a subplot of the fucking season. But yeah, I would still keep the Mondridges, but just, very much in the back. Very much in the back, and just establish that Benedict and Colin, particularly Benedict, are their gateways into other storylines that involve the Bridgerton. And yeah, we wrap up episode 10 with Penn and Colin going to Greece for their honeymoon, and they're in the carriage headed toward the pier to get on the ship to go to Greece, and Penn hands Colin his journals with all her edited marks, and he's like a little offended about the total number of corrections that she's made, but he's also appreciative nonetheless because he's just so impressed and loved with her. And yeah, that's how it ends, with Colin headed towards publishing his manuscript and possibly being pregnant next season. I like the idea of ending on she hands him the manuscript. He's, holy shit, you wrote more than I did, but he appreciates it because Penn's a great writer and she has a lot to say, and he's taking her notes into consideration. And as they're about to board onto their boat to go to Greece, Penn's, I don't feel well, and he's, the boat hasn't even moved yet. We're not even out to sail yet. We've just stepped on it, and she's, I just don't feel good, and she runs off throwing up. And then that's when we're like, holy shit, old girl has morning sickness, she's pregnant. So yeah, that's how it ended. That's episode by episode, 10 episodes I came up with of how I would have written season 3 of Bridgerton. yeah. I'm actually really proud of it. Yeah, and you guys let me know if you're proud of it too. I hope you are. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about my shoulda, coulda, wouldas for season 3. I just guess the reason I feel just so passionately about the season and my disappointment in of it is just frankly because I love Nicola Coughlan. I love Luke Newton. I love Pollen. I love Penn. I love Colin. I am a hardcore shipper of them. I haven't been in a fandom since Teen Wolf ended, and I found myself grappling and not grappling, I'm sorry, that's not the right word. I found myself gravitating, thank you. I found myself gravitating towards Bridgerton, and from the very first episode I immediately loved Penn, and once it was established that she had feelings for Colin, I immediately said, okay, yes, if you're in love with that boy, I'm in love with him too, and I want to see you guys live happily ever after. That's what I want. Yeah, so that's why I feel just so strongly about it. I'm just a hardcore shipper, and I just see so much potential and with this show, and I really like and care about these characters and watching them go through what they go through, and it's just such a female-centric show, and I absolutely love romance, and I love that this show is told through the female gaze, and it seems to really care about women and how they see and interpret romantic content. So yeah, I just, I'm in my feels about this show. So therefore, yeah, it was really disappointing when the expectations that I had for this season, particularly this season, didn't gel. It didn't rise to the occasion, and I thought it was just me, but it was really great finding out that it wasn't, that it was most of us. Like, a lot of us were really disappointed in the season, and that's no hate to Nicola and Luke, who gave it their fucking all. They truly did. Like, I've got not a bad thing to say about them. They really gave 110% to this, and I think that's what makes me feel even bad about it, even worse about like how badly the season turned out. It's just that Nicola and Luke didn't deserve to have their season turn out this way. But yeah, that's it. That's my episode, my headcanon episode breakdown of what I would have done had I been a writer or the head writer or showrunner for season 3 of Bridgerton. Hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed rambling and talking about it and going off on tangents and getting really excited about it. Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Hope you have a good day, good weekend, and enjoy the summer. Bye.
Thank you.